Hello and welcome to this new series where we will focus on that endangered species, India's middle class. Now, I'm one of those who belong to that class, and many of you who are watching me right now are also part of it, I'm sure. And we all know we are in a bit of a trouble. Some of us more, some of us less, but we are in trouble. But before I proceed, let's get the most important thing out of the way, and that is, who is the middle class that we keep talking about? There is an income-based definition that some economists use. You take the per capita income of a country, which is the average income, and then identify all those who earn between 75% of that and twice as much. For example, if I take the case of India, where our per capita income is roughly 2 lakh rupees per year, if we use that same formula, it would tell us that anyone who earns between 1.5 lakh rupees per year and up to 4 lakh rupees a year at the upper end would be middle class. When I use the term middle class, I use it more as a sociological category, which of course has an economic aspect to it and does translate into a certain income level, but I'm not starting from that income level alone. For me, the middle class in any capitalist society is in the sociological middle, between the so-called capitalist class and the working classes. The capitalist class consists of everyone who makes a living by investing funds to produce goods and services and then sell them. They employ people to work for them and they earn profits. That's the important thing. The source of income is profit. Now, this includes the biggest business houses and families, but also small and medium entrepreneurs, big traders and big retailers, but also relatively smaller shopkeepers. Again, their range of income from profit can be very wide, could be a few lakhs a year to thousands of crores. As I said, what defines them is that their source of income is returns from capital, which is profit. Also, it defines their aspirations, their attitude to work, their attitude to workers, and the potential wealth they can generate over a lifetime, much more than what a salaried person can. On the other end of this are the working classes. Blue-collar employees working in factories and offices, daily wagers, construction workers, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, household helps, drivers, watchmen, garbage collectors, an entire range of people we come across every day who earn their living mostly from various kinds of manual, semi-skilled work. And of course, in India, a massive part of the working classes are farmers and agricultural laborers. They make up about 1/4 of India's working population right now, according to the data collected by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMI. The middle class stands between these two groups, the entrepreneurial classes at the top and the working classes at the bottom. We are in the middle. Their social role is to enable the smooth functioning of a capitalist society. Now, they do that either by running the state and the government as bureaucrats and government officials, or else by managing corporate entities, companies, to ensure workers do their job correctly, turn up on time. They supervise them, they manage offices, they sell and market products and services that are produced by companies, they strategize on how to increase market share of companies. In short, the middle class acts on behalf of entrepreneurs to maximize their profits without directly owning capital or earning from profits. They do not carry any risk that an entrepreneur has to carry also. In return, they get a fixed salary at the end of the month and increasingly some amount of variable pay and a bonus at the end of the year. The closest a white-collar middle-class professional comes to experiencing what it means to be an entrepreneur is when they're given ESOPs, or employee stock options, as part of their pay. But a very small section of our middle class gets ESOPs right now, so the most overwhelming majority are salary earners, which is their main source of income. And there are roughly about 16 to 17 million such white-collar professionals in India. That's just about 4% of the entire population of employed people in this country, those with some sort of work. Of course, there's another section of the middle class, which are white-collar professionals who don't get regular salaries. They earn their income as fixed fees. These are, we all know, doctors, architects, chartered accountants, lawyers, and despite the fact that their monthly earnings tend to fluctuate, they're still sociologically part of the middle class. They act like the middle class. And at best, they will be another 0.5% of the employed population of India. So you add the two, salaried people and those who earn from fees, professionals, you would get about 4.5% of the population who can be called middle class. And they're not in the middle. They're actually the top 5% of income earners, just below the richest 0.5% of people who are mostly entrepreneurs. My calculations, based on the estimates made by the World Inequality Database, is that 99% of India's middle class falls within an income range of about 70,000 rupees per month to about 2 lakh a month. That's the broad range. Those at the top of this middle class, salaried professionals who earn more than this amount, and they go up to 1.5, 2, 3, 4 crores, are a very small minority. Now, historically, the middle class has also been defined as an aspiring class, which does some amount of discretionary spending. What does that mean? They go beyond basic needs. They can spend. They eat out at restaurants, go on holidays, buy higher-end cars, buy gadgets for the home, washing machines, microwave ovens, air conditioners, large flat screen television sets, faster laptops, better quality smartphones. They send their kids to the top schools, spend on good clothes, spend on branded shampoo, body wash, buy cornflakes and muesli for breakfast, and occasionally buy Parmesan cheese, which they sprinkle on top of their homemade pasta. They also take home loans to buy their dream houses and end up tying themselves up into paying EMIs for 20 to 30 years. They're basically a consuming class who want to live a good, comfortable life and want to retire with some amount of savings which will keep them comfortable, which they can then pass on to their children as inheritance. And as you all know, this middle class is feeling the squeeze for the past couple of years. Some a little more, some a little less. For instance, take young people from the middle class who are just graduating with some sort of a professional degree. They're finding it very difficult to get good jobs. Those who already have jobs and have about 5 to 10 years of experience, their salaries are more or less stagnant. What I mean by that is that even if they get pay hikes or increments, these increments are barely keeping pace with inflation and often are actually lower than the inflation that the middle class actually faces. That means in real terms, in terms of what their salaries can buy, their purchasing power is either flat or in many cases has gone down in the past couple of years. Then there are the high earners in any corporate office, the top rung of managers, including what is called the CXO suite, the bosses, or people just below that level. At this level too, job security has gone for a complete toss. Big corporates who pay these kind of salaries are cutting costs and they're preparing for the coming AI age. In many companies, senior people are being asked to do 2 people's jobs and the second person is being sacked. Let's take the example of a top executive who might have been in charge of sales in southern and western markets in India in a company and has been doing very well at that. That person is being told, you will now be in charge of the entire Indian market. Congrats, this is a promotion, but sorry, no pay hike. You just get a better designation. The person who was handling the northern eastern market is then asked to leave. And there might have actually been an overall in charge of all India sales. That person is now being given an additional job of handling marketing as well as sales for the entire country and maybe also push overseas. So at every level, roles are being collapsed and merged, work hours are increasing and the intensity of work is increasing too. Fewer coffee breaks, much quicker deadlines, and work spilling over into the home. And all of this is, as I said, happening at stagnant pay. And by the way, there is no way out of it right now because the job market is so tight right now. When jobs are relatively easy to get, people jump ship if they feel that they're being worked too hard or are being paid less than what they deserve. Given that white-collar job opportunities have shrunk, there's no option but to just suck it up and do whatever you're asked to do. Now, I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of data. It gets a little tedious and boring, but here are a few graphs and numbers which will help you get a sense of what is happening in the white-collar job space. These are based on the Naukri Job Speak Index, compiled by Naukri.com. This index is considered to be the most robust indicator of white-collar hiring in India. 3 graphs which will tell us how fresh white-collar hiring has fallen in the past couple of years. Here's the First one, which is the overall change. You can clearly see how new white-collar hiring has declined since April 2023. It recovered a bit, but it's still 2% lower than where it was 2 years ago. In software and software services, it's one of India's biggest sources of white-collar jobs. Fresh hiring is down by 5.5% in 2 years. And finally, in banking and finance, another major catchment industry for middle-class professional employment in India, has been so for 2 decades now. New hiring is down almost 5%. So job opportunities are shrinking, salary hikes are vanishing, and at the same time, inflation is eating into middle-class incomes. That is the squeeze what we, the middle class, are facing right now. And unfortunately, there are no immediate signs of things getting better anytime soon. We're going to track the fortunes of this middle class on this show, speak to experts and to people affected, the middle class affected, and hopefully also come up with some recommendations for solutions. Keep watching.